So today's learning objectives really are really to help you, no matter where you sit in an organization, understand the key steps for planning your career path, where to begin, how to create a career map, and how to move that forward. So for employees, it's really about learning what's your responsibility in career development, what does development mean, and how to go about it. For people managers that may be on the call, it's also about what is your role and how do you partner with your employee on their development. And for senior level executives that may be on the call or business owners, it may be an opportunity to gain some greater insight into how a culture of career development can positively impact your bottom line, and may it also may spark ideas for how to create that culture of development within your organization. So let's keep moving on. Let's first start with career development trends. So the first trend that we've been noticing is that there is this a lack of development drives attrition. Now, this is really the number one reason why employees leave a company. And this has been, throughout my HR career, I've always seen a lack of development or growth opportunities as at least in the top three, if not top five reasons for employee attrition. So it's definitely something for companies to certainly be aware of. The second trend is employees are really desiring to grow on the job. So this one, I'm going to read a little bit about some recent statistics that came out of a LinkedIn article on the 2023 word of the year, which is the big stay, which means that employees have really slowed down on that job hopping that we experienced during the Great Resignation, which began in 2020 with the pandemic. And then it kind of moved into the great reshuffle, where between June 2021 and December 2022, more than 4 million employees quit their jobs every month. And that was just in the US alone. So there was just so much movement and things going on between 2020 and 2022. However, in the fall of 2022, the global economy started to slow, and then the tech sector started to incur some layoffs. And in addition, employees started to regret leaving their jobs. In fact, a recent research from Paychecks found that 80% of people who quit their jobs during the Great Resignation later regretted it. So all of this is to say that people now in 2023, the trend is people are sticking around, which kind of leads us to this third career trend. Sorry about this. Just trying to move the video here a little bit. Is the importance of improving skills. So, really, whenever employees are encouraged to take advantage of internal growth opportunities like upskilling, reskilling, or cross skilling, the people metrics like engagement and retention increases. So it's really an important thing for employees and companies to be aware of as well. Um, and whenever employees are given that opportunity, according to a recent LinkedIn article, 83% of employees are reporting that improving their skills is one of their top priorities, and that they're already acting on this right now. So again, just more reason to say that and companies that facilitate career development are 2.5 times more likely to exceed their financial targets. So it's really a good thing. Go ahead, Jamie.
That I think this is fascinating. And I'm so glad that you're sharing this, because I think a couple years ago, we really heard how the younger generation wasn't sticking around in their jobs for more than 2 to 3 years. To,
Mhm.
to see that the trend has gone in the opposite direction and employees are sticking around, I think that's fascinating. And I'm so glad that you're sharing that.
Yeah, it was very eye-opening to me to see this when I was doing this recent research. So it really is eye-opening. So really the bottom line of all this is that, there's really a lot of compelling reasons, right, to create that culture of employee development, and especially now. So, all right, so let's talk about some career development myths, and we really want to get you guys involved in this. So, the first question for you all is, and please type in the chat, Managers are responsible for their employees' career development. True or false? What are you seeing, Jamie?
I am seeing a lot of false, Lori, a lot of false.
Okay.
It should be a partnership. Both.
Okay.
True.
All right.
Actually true.
So it is, yeah, false, really, that it really truly is a partnership, right? Employees have ultimate responsibility, but your manager should be there also for you along the way. And it really does start with the employee though, because career development is so individual and personalized. It is not a one size fits all where you start here and you move to here and to there. In some cases that may be the case, but through my experience, it's not always that way. And you kind of need to learn to how to navigate your career on your own. And it's really about, leveraging your manager and other people within your organization and your network, which we're going to talk a little bit more in a bit, how important that is to your development. But your manager there should be there to support those conversations, being transparent about, feedback to you, how you're doing, where your gaps are, your strengths are, and where there are career development opportunities and helping you navigate that as well. Okay, next question. Career development should be centered around promotions and linear progression. True or false?
Ooh, I'm seeing a lot of false again, Lori.
Okay. This is good. This is a smart group.
Yep.
Okay.
A lot of false.
All
Yep.
right. You guys are right. Career development should be growth based. And
Mhm.
so, what do we mean by growth based? So, really, it means that employees should be seeking to build their skills, whether that be upskilling, cross skilling, reskilling. And, when you build your skills on the job, you open yourself up to take on greater responsibilities when there's a business need, right? So, when the company's growing, developing, or they have openings, the more that you can do now to gain those skill set, it's going to make you that more marketable within the company for when those opportunities come available. So and we are going to talk a little bit about business need, but opportunities are also based on where the business is growing, right? So having a good understanding of where the business is growing as well is important. So again, growth based and does not necessarily mean, and career development does not necessarily mean that vertical, type of career moves. It can be anything from growing on the job, so enriching what you know today and getting better at what you're doing today. It could also mean relocating to another region in the world. Perhaps you want to have a global role someday, so you may need to gain some experience in another region. So that may look like a lateral move, or a lateral move to another department. Maybe you're in marketing and you want to move over to sales to learn that so that you can continue to move up in the commercial side of an organization. So, and then, there's also the taking a step back. I'll give an example. When I first got out of college, I was an undergrad in finance and I started as a financial analyst for 2 years and really realized in that time that I did not like it. Like I just wanted something more people oriented. So I worked with a career coach. I gained some more insights about myself, what I really enjoyed doing, where my interests were and skill sets were. And I moved into HR. And I did have to take a little bit of a step back in order to do that. But then that helped me, continue my career in the direction that I wanted to go. So there's all different ways that you can move your career. How about you, Jamie? Do you have any examples of a sidestep or a backstep?
Definitely both. That my corporate background was in the nonprofit sector. And at one point, I took a job with a different company. It was a step up. In that case, the grass was not greener on the other side. So I decided I wanted to go back to the company I had previously. My position had been filled. So I was really willing to do anything to get back in line with the company. So I went from being a senior director to a coordinator, just so that way I could get my foot back in the door and work my way up. And
Mhm.
I've also done a relocation as I'm looking at your chart that I went to school in Ohio and I moved from Ohio to Texas. And that relocation can be very humbling that you don't have your network, you don't have your connection. So it's a definite career move trajectory that I wasn't expecting at that point in my time. And a career coach or career mapping would have been very helpful at that point in my life.
Yeah, definitely. And so, I think it's just something for everybody to be aware of, right? Is that career development does not look just one way. There's many ways to develop your career. So the next thing I wanted to just kind of tee up is, and this comes up a lot throughout my career, I've gotten this kind of question is, when are promotions available? When does that occur? So it really starts with the business need, right? So where is the company expanding? Where do they have growth opportunities? Where are they going to continue to need skills and capabilities? So it really starts with the business need. And then when you map or match that business need with certain capabilities, skills, and experiences of people who can do that role in that area where the company's growing, as well as where people have interest. Remember, all of these things kind of have to come together in order for really a promotion, to occur. It's kind of that sweet spot, if you will. And again, this is a general rule. This is not the case in all cases, but it's kind of a general rule of thumb, and it's been my experience so far. All right, the last question. Most career development happens outside of the workplace. True or false?
I'm seeing the false come in again. I'm seeing a theme here.
I'm making these too
Oh,
easy.
I see true. Mixed.
Okay. I'm thinking next time I'm going to have to make these a little harder.
We have some smart people in our audience today. I love
I
it.
do.
They've
They
got
know
that
a lot more about career
experience.
development than we think. So,
Depends on the role, interest, depends on the skill.
correct. It really, it really it is that the majority of career development happens inside the workplace, but it isn't all career development happens inside the workplace. In fact, um, really about 70% of development happens on the job learning, such as stretch assignments, additional projects, things that expand employees' capabilities. 20% is exposure to others, learning from others, getting feedback and coaching, maybe mentoring from somebody in the organization. Any of those opportunities to increase your skill set and visibility to senior leaders and other people within the organization is a great way to develop and to get kind of your brand out there as well. And then about 10% is that kind of formal learning and development, which happens outside the workplace, such as training courses, certifications, books, conferences, etc. Okay. So now that we kind of set the framework on some of the, career development trends and clearing up some of the myths, let's talk about the steps to really mapping your career path. And these are kind of the 4 steps I would boil it down to. And we're going to walk through each one of these, starting with self reflection, then exploring the different options, leveraging your manager, network, maybe it's a boon coach or a mentor, and then actually taking action. So, the first step is to self reflect, and we're actually going to open a poll here. So, we kind of want to get a feel for, and this is anonymous, so nobody's names will be in here, but we'd love to see where you guys all are in terms of um, in your current career path. Are you happy in your role? Are you content to just continue to grow in your current position? Are
I
you
would
new
just
in role?
love to see the answers as they're coming in and the adjustments in the lines.
Yeah. You could be dissatisfied. You could be ready for a move. So there's a lot of different areas where you could be in your career path.
Mhm, mhm. All right, few more seconds. All right, there we go.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. So, it's you would expect to see a real mix, right?
Mhm,
Looks like the
mhm.
majority maybe are wanting to progress, but it's only a little bit under 50%. And then the rest are either dissatisfied in role, new in role, or happy in role. So why is this important? Any surprises to you, Jamie, there before we move on?
I wouldn't say a surprise that I am pleased to see that happy enroll and wanting to progress are the two, top choices. That I
Mhm.
think that's very in line with what you said when we first started this presentation, that employees are wanting to stick around a little bit more. They're investing in their companies. They want their employers to invest in them. They're happy and they want to grow.
Yeah, yeah, I know. It's really great to see. It really is. And this is important because you can't know where you want to go in your career path unless you kind of know where you are today, right? So it's really important because if you're new in role, your goals right now are really going to be around learning that job, right? And maybe a year or two down the road, you can start thinking about, as you're getting really comfortable in your road, okay, maybe what's next for me? So your development goals are really going to be around that position. Or if you're ready to progress, your goals may be around exploring, okay, what other options are there for me? And how can I close any gaps to get where I want to go? So that's why it's really important to really kind of do this sort of, self-reflection is really, really key. Um, and this is something that these are questions that I use with my clients that I'm coaching on career development, which again really helps them understand, where have they been, what do they enjoy doing, what are they recognized for doing well and where they get good feedback, what do they want to do less of. And this really helps people begin to set the lens for, okay, these are the kinds of experiences and things I want to have in my career as I grow, as I, continue to grow. And as you start to look at different options, then that's going to help you to know, is that other job going to really be right for me or not? So, and it's really, also talking to others about this, getting feedback from your manager, maybe some of your peers, so you can kind of understand, geez, what really am I good at, and where can you see me excelling? And then that next step is exploring the career options. So it starts with really identifying a career aspiration, which could be a future role, something a little bit more long term. An intention could be something a little bit more short term, or it could be to gain a specific skill like project management skills. So you really look to identify what is that aspiration or intention. What are those key experience, skills, and competencies needed in that role, or to do that next function, whatever that is you're aiming towards? And then, what are those opportunities to seek out and gain the skills and experiences to be able to do that? And then putting some actionable goals against that. And this is a document that I use with my clients as well that helps them kind of map this out on paper. So what is that aspiration or intention? And it helps them to define what are those key experiences, skills, competencies needed, and then how, and what are those actionable steps they could do to get there. Now, you may be saying, like, well, how do I know all the time, right? That this is, what I need to do. And that's where it's really important to start leveraging others to help you, because you're not on an island doing this by yourself, right? You can leverage your manager, you can leverage a mentor, your HR partner, maybe somebody, if you're curious about a job you think you might be interested in, it's reaching out to that person, right? And having a conversation with them about what they do. And also a coach, a career coach, a boon coach can really help you navigate some of this, as I'm doing right now with some of my clients. So
So, Lori, I have a quick question. Like with your expertise and education, how do you recommend people who have no idea where to start begin to have this conversation? How do they even broach leveraging this with their manager, their mentor, human resources?
yeah, it's a great question. And it's actually something that I do work with my clients a lot on. And specifically, I'll give you an example of one boon client I'm working with right now, who, she started off, she's in a role where her capabilities are really greater than the role that she's in. She's had some previous experiences. She really loves the company and the job that she's doing, but she continues to want to progress. And so, what I was helping her do is to start with that self reflection piece. So, she took some time, did that self reflection, understood kind of what she really excelled at, what she wanted to do, what she wanted to do less of. And then we, talked about who she could talk to in her organization that was available to her. It may be different in different organizations, right? So, it's
Mhm.
kind of understanding who that is. And then the way that I coached her on this is to approach the conversation now that she's done her homework with kind of asking that question about, hey, I really love working here. I really want to continue to, advance my career and grow with the organization where there's opportunities. I was wondering if I could take some time to talk with you about and get your guidance about how to navigate this within the organization. And it's all about the how that you do it. If you're coming to other people and with sort of an entitlement, maybe perspective, or, being insistent that you're deserving of a promotion, that might not go over that well, right? With the other folks internally. But if you're really genuinely coming at it from a curiosity standpoint, and saying, hey, here's what I bring to the table. Really would love to do more of this. What do you see for me? What kind of options are available? So I really coach them through the kinds of questions and how to approach that conversation. And in fact, with this individual, she also had seen a job that was posted internally. She was interested in that had some of those, job responsibilities she was interested in doing more of. So we talked through how to just set up a few minutes with that hiring manager, the job, to not necessarily apply right away, but just have a dialogue with that hiring manager about the job and ask some specific questions. What's a day in the life of the job? What kinds of capabilities does it entail? Who would they interact with? Things so they can get better knowledge of what that job entails. And in the end, she decided, you know what? It wasn't really the right job for her.
Hmm, interesting.
So, yeah, it had aspects that she really enjoyed doing, but she really felt that there were aspects she would be losing in her current job that she wasn't willing to give up.
I
And
love that you encouraged her and empowered her to look at everything from all of the different angles and ultimately make the best decision for her based
yeah,
on who she was at that point in time.
yeah, exactly. And she really was thankful, I have to say, because she said without some of my encouragement along that way. And of course, I never tell people what to do. It's really they make the decision for themselves. But she did reach out and she had that conversation. She was so thankful that she did that. So, and then now she's in the process of having these conversations with her manager and with HR to see what other things are available to her. So
Thank you for
she's
sharing.
really on a good path right now. So yeah, but thanks for asking. So, once you've kind of done that homework and you've leveraged your manager, you've talked to others, it's really about taking action. It's kind of that final step. So, again, these are the steps I would take is to do the self-reflection, plan what those aspirations or intentions are, after you've gotten feedback from your manager, you've networked with other people, then identify some key development opportunities and set some specific goals towards that. And then confirm what those are with your manager. finalize. If you have development planning in your organization, that's great. If not, you can create your own development plan, which is really just an action plan on what are those key development goals that you have and how are you going to achieve them, right? And doing that in the smart way, doing smart goals, making sure that they're time bound and relevant and all of that. And then checking in with your manager periodically to evaluate your progress and see how you're doing against those goals.
And if I don't know how to goal set or don't even know where to start, my boom coach can help me with that, right?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. We can help you with that for sure. So, yep. So really the key takeaways from today is, own your own development. And it starts with reflecting on where you are today, what your strengths, skill gaps, what your aspirations may be, enlisting your manager, your network, a boom coach as guides along that path. Seeking people out in your company who perform a job you think you may be interested, maybe have lunch with them or do a virtual Zoom call with them to learn more about, what they do and what it takes to be successful in that role. And then creating those specific development goals and implementing them into an actionable plan. And don't forget to kind of reference or utilize a 70-20-10 rule in creating those action plans, making sure that majority of that is stuff you can gain on the job. And if you need to, get a mentor or do some external training on a particular topic, that's great too. And then just having those regular check-ins with your manager to, just see how you're progressing and to update your plan periodically. So with that, that pretty much takes us through the content.
I love it that we have a comment that mentors can exist inside or outside of the organization. I completely agree with that, and I'm so glad that that was put in the chat because I have had mentors within my own organizations when I was a young professional, and I could not imagine where I would be today without their mentorship. That they were really able to guide me and advise me based on who I was and where they saw my skills were, that I thought that was really important because sometimes mentors and coaches will see things with inside ourselves that we don't always see, and that they have that ability to, help flush that out. So
Absolutely. Yeah. In fact, I was working with a boom client last year who was working for a startup and had a very small company. And this was, a bigger role than he had ever taken on before. And so through our coaching, one of the things I'd recommended to him was, did he have anybody externally in a similar type of profession that maybe he looked up to, that he'd worked with in the past, that he trusted, that could be somebody to bounce ideas off of, just to kind of get a gut check on some of the things that he's implementing at work,
yeah.
to help guide him, and he said that that was tremendously helpful as well. So you're exactly right. Like mentors can be people inside your company or outside your company. So
So we have a question. If you could break down the 70, 20, and 10 concept again.
yeah, so 70% is on the job experience. So that's things like stretch assignments, taking on a project maybe that your manager has that they need some help with that will help you build some skills. Another example of that is, let's say that you would like to get into management. Um, and right now you're an individual contributor. And if you express that interest to your manager that that's something you might like to do someday, maybe when that manager's away on vacation, you can lead team meetings in their absence, or fill in and maybe start to practice doing some coaching with some of your peers, if that's maybe be a team lead for the team. So there's definitely ways that you can gain those on the job experiences. So 20% is through really coaching and feedback from your manager, mentorship, and networking with other people inside or outside the organization. And then 10% is more of that formal education or training. That could be going outside and taking a course in something. Maybe it's taking a course in AI if that's something that's going to help you with your job, for example.
Mhm.
So that's really kind of the breakdown there.
Excellent, thank you. Now, Lori, what I'm curious about is for some of our more seasoned professionals that maybe they're at that senior director, vice president level, that how can they utilize career mapping? That perceptually they're almost at the top, but I still see that this could be applicable for them in some ways.
Yeah. So again, because career development is so individualized, it definitely can be applicable to you no matter where you sit in the organization. So
Mhm.
at that point, it could be the goal could be gaining better leadership development skills, you know? It could be maybe they're second from the top and they want to get to the top, you know, they want to become CEO, and but they're not quite there yet. So it's kind of looking at, you know, what are those areas of development that they need to gain? Maybe that's, you know, taking a sidestep or learning some skills from another department or region or something in order to move up. So there's just, it really depends on the individual, but there's always opportunities for development no matter where you sit.
Mhm, mhm. And I have a question from one of our attendees, that let me know if you would like to come off mute, Brianna, that I would happily let you speak to Lori one-on-one if you feel comfortable. But what she's looking at is their team had, hang on, I want to see if she put it in here. No, she didn't, but that they had a career development initiative last year that covered the very basics of the employee's responsibilities, the manager's responsibilities. There were several workshops that took place, and the feedback they got that there was the need to do more in terms of building accountability and empowering employees to have these types of conversations. So, based on that information, what would you suggest to build upon what they've already done? It sounds like that framework, that foundation is there, but they're looking for the next steps on how to build that accountability into that career development training.
Hmm. That's an interesting question. I mean, I think that I'd have to understand a little bit more in detail about everything that they had done,
Mm-hmm.
to really understand kind of what I'm not sure if the accountability is on how to hold employees accountable for that. I mean, one of
Mm-hmm.
the ways I would say is that what I've seen is that one of the ways to hold employees accountable to career development is to ensure that everybody has an actionable development plan.
Sure.
So to make that part of the culture, is that everybody has a development plan and it's something that's reviewed by you and your manager at least 2 times a year,
Yeah.
updating progress. And usually it kind of aligns with, you know, the performance management process in some respects. Because sometimes you'll learn from your performance review that there's an area, there's a gap or something you could, you know, need to, you know, develop. And so then you would add that or adjust your development plan accordingly. But that's one of the ways that I've seen can really make development really part of the culture.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I'm curious if the aspect of trust also plays into that role of accountability, that this is something we all said we were going to do. There's that buy in. So there's that level of trust that I'm able to hold you accountable for this goal and this training that we all went through.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and making sure that people are doing that and going through the training is really important. The other piece I just thought of is and something that I've done many times is do a workshop with managers, people managers, to
Mhm.
dig deeper into their role and how they can help. We just touched on it kind of high level today, right?
Yeah.
What that role is, but that's also another way is getting managers more comfortable with the unknown because a lot of managers would come to me and say, geez, I really don't know how to help this person. But if I'm sharing some of the same kinds of concepts, and really, you know, if they can advise their employee on some of the same steps and things that we did today, that's
Mhm.
really going to help. So,
Mhm. Awesome. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
We
Any
have
other questions?
Yes, we do. That when creating a new role to encompass skill sets, what are some key areas to focus on when developing that role?
Well, I think one of the key things to focus on is what is going to need to be achieved, really. So, what is the goal of the role? What
Mhm,
will that role need to be accountable for
mhm,
in specifics? And then thinking about the capabilities and skill sets and experiences needed that are going to map and align to those specific responsibilities for the job.
mhm,
Kind of
mhm,
starts at a very high level, what is this overall role's overall goal? And then kind of breaking it down from there.
mhm. And I would be curious around, the culture of the company when it comes to this role, that when it's in that infancy stage, that how many different people could that potential employee in that new role go to say, what could I do for you if I was in this position, or this or this, or how can I make your department more efficient or better, to really just understand all of the different skills and applicability within that company. That I think that would be fascinating. And also to a degree, getting a buy-in from everybody else that you're going to be working with. That this is a new role that we're flushing out at our company. And I'd love to see how you and I could interact together to make this successful and make our company more successful.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the key things I always feel is important is never be afraid to admit like you don't know something or that you want to learn a skill set, right? Or you don't have all of the answers. Um, that's really, really important today, and it's okay to do that because most people don't either. You may
Mhm,
assume that the head of the business knows the answers to everything. I can guarantee you they don't. So I think having that partnership and that open dialogue and sort of that open door policy is really important, especially with a startup when people are probably wearing many hats. Um,
mhm, mhm,
and certainly career development isn't going to be as defined there, right? It may become more defined as time goes on, but it's really kind of all hands on deck and everybody kind of jumping in and learning new skills and responsibilities. So,
mhm.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
And I really like what you said, that you don't have to feel that pressure to know everything. That's very humbling. And sometimes I think we forget that along the way, especially in the startup culture, that it's we're hired because of our expertise, but a lot of companies get to where they are because of the collaboration, because of the sharing of ideas, and stepping out of that comfort zone, that it's, I don't know how to do this, I'm willing to learn, and really just humbling yourself to say, I don't know what I don't know, but I'll do the best that I can and do my best to fill
Absolutely.
those gaps.
Yeah, I love that. I really do. And leaders are stronger when they do tap into their team and their subordinates for ideas because they don't have all the answers in most cases, and getting the collective feedback and input and ideas can only make the organization stronger.
Mm, absolutely. All right, to anyone in the audience, what other questions do you have? Any comments? All right. Oh, we have one. What are the best ways you can get executive by when rolling out your career development initiatives? I'm not quite sure I understand your question.
Oh, the best ways to get executive buy-in.
Oh, executive buy-in. Okay, okay, excellent. So you can see that question. What are your thoughts on this, Lori?
Yeah, I guess it depends. It's hard for me to really answer this because I don't know really the structure of the company. Um, Executive buy-in when rolling out. Could you maybe elaborate a little bit more? Does this mean when to get executive buy-in when rolling out career initiatives, like when putting together like a career development kind of workshop or,
Autumn, you're able to
hi,
talk.
Autumn.
Hi, thank you again. Yeah, a little bit about that. So we have been our executives last year, they wanted us to really focus in on L&D. And so we've hired our VP of HR Ops and L&D. And so this year they wanted to really focus on career development initiatives and leadership development. And so we kind of did a rollout, like Brianna said, but ours was the opposite. Instead of execs wanting more, they decided to kind of pull it back a little bit and then kind of understand or to get more understanding of the career development for employees and having employees drive their own career at my current company. So we've kind of just been going back and forth of like, what are more ways that we can kind of get that executive buy-in to say, this is important, this is why we want to roll this out to our employees, this is what, they've been asking for. But there's still some questions, that's lingering around, and it's kind of hindering us right now with the other things that we want to roll out.
Yeah, I would say, I think that, one of the best ways is to share what's in it for them, right? So not only maybe our employees, I don't know if you do, employee surveys every year, or if this happens to come up as an area that employees are saying they really want more of, but is really trying to, show the benefit to the company of doing, career development program. Right? It leads to retention. You could utilize or look up some of the LinkedIn recent articles and stuff that I pulled data and statistics from. Is really kind of showing that retaining employees, getting greater engagement within your employees, that's really going to help the bottom line of the company. So if there's anything that you can do to help with career development and to help retain them, engage them more, is just going to be beneficial for them. So I would look at it and take it from a lens of how those career development objectives are going to benefit the bottom line of the company. That's probably going to be most effective.
Mhm. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
It's a great question and a great answer.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Any other questions?
I just want to add something to Autumn's question, just to say
Mhm.
that I can understand too, though, an organization saying we don't really want to have to create all of these development programs and things like that, that they want to have the ownership on the employees. So I think it's really kind of finding that right balance, between developing some things that may be very cost effective, but also, having employees kind of driving that, and researching some of that themselves. So
That's a really good point. Really good point.
thank
And
you.
it goes back to something that we, discussed a little bit earlier, that accountability. That accountability and that ownership is across the board.
Mhm. Yeah, good.
All right, so what I'm gonna do, I am putting that link in the chat again, that if you're interested in signing up with a Boom coach, if we're already a program, within your company, there's a link in the chat that you can go ahead and contact us that way. Or if you're interested in learning a little bit more information, you can go ahead and click that link and we'll be in touch as well. That again, I want to reiterate that I really appreciate and applaud everyone's attendance today. I know it's not easy to carve out 45 minutes to an hour in your busy day for personal and professional development, but I'm really glad and thankful that you're here. And thank you so much to Lori for sharing your expertise and your time with everybody and all of us today. That it was insightful, it was delightful, and I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Jamie. It was delightful to be here. So thanks again.
Absolutely. Thank you all. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I hope we see you all soon on the Boone side.
Take care, everyone.